All right. I think we're on. Here goes nothing. Welcome, everybody, to the first officially unofficial, yeah, first episode of the Planet Soccer podcast. This isn't really going to be an episode. It's more of kind of a summary slash, um, you know, really what it is a summary of what this podcast is going to be, what it's not going to be, why we're doing it, and what we expect to get out of it or not get out of it. So, I'm saying we. I will have a co-host for pretty much every episode here on out. His name is Dylan Wilcox. He is in Michigan, out in the Great North, and it is 7:30 local time for me right now. And honestly, I'm just using this to test the technology that we're going to end up using. Decided to record an episode, just to get a feel for everything, and yeah, I decided to record it. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, kind of see how the process of getting it on all of our social medias works out. So, yeah, this is the guinea pig episode. First of all, what is actually, let's start with what this podcast is not going to be. We recognize that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of soccer, football podcasts out there in this world. We are not going to be one of those that has two, three, four guys sitting at a table. Maybe you got an Arsenal fan, a Man U fan, a Liverpool fan, and a Chelsea fan, and they're just yelling at each other the whole time, arguing. There's some points made here or there, but it has a first take sort of vibe. To give an American TV reference, it's like Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman just yelling at each other, just like the good old days. Um, Sometimes informative, sometimes not. There are also informative soccer podcasts out there, but we are not educated enough to call ourselves experts. In order to do those types of shows, we will have analysis. We will talk about the games. We will talk about players, because we can. We have the knowledge to do so, but we're not going to pretend to be geniuses on tactical decisions and deviations and counters, things like that. So, um, this is going to be much more a storytelling, a much more educational podcast. Essentially, we're going to be focusing on the sport as a culture, as a tool for globalization, as a political powerhouse, if you will, a political um, puppet in some ways. It's it's interesting. Once you kind of learn more about it, hopefully we'll be able to give you guys a good explanation on kind of how the sport as a whole is a good sort of look in to the world. So many different languages, foods, people, skin tones, politics, and you got this game that's played on a patch of grass with a round ball and some feet. Um, and it really is the beautiful game because it is a complete blank canvas. It's it has no nationality. It has no borders, and that's super cliche to say, but it's it's a sport that has no borders, but that is so important to the borders of the world, if you will. It's so important to so many countries around the world. It has such an influence on their citizens' lives. It has an impact on their government in some ways. It has an impact on their economy. So, it has much more far-reaching ramifications than Major League Baseball does. Um, and we'll get into more on that, kind of comparing American sports to soccer in future episodes. But it's just different. It's different in such a great way. And once that switch flips when you're watching a game and you're watching it and you understand that, okay, this game might end 0-0 or 1-0 or 1-1. I might not see the ball hit the back of the net very often, but it's the way the game was played. It was the chess match of the game. It was the build up. It was the recovery, from a defender that saved the game. It was a goalkeeper standing on his head. Great example of this is the Champions League final this year between Real Madrid and Liverpool. Liverpool dominated the game, should have scored 2, 3, 4 goals, maybe even. But Thibaut Courtois, the Real Madrid keeper, had one of the best performances in Champions League final history. That game ended 1-0 on paper, very boring game, but it was exhilarating. It was incredible. It was, edge of your seat the whole time. And that's kind of what the sport is. Once you take a look beneath the surface, I think, which is what a lot of American fans struggle to do because we don't generally grow up playing it, and certainly don't grow up watching it as much as we do other sports. So um, that's kind of what this podcast will be. Now, granted, we will do World Cup previews. We'll talk about Premier League 2022, 2023 predictions, projections, etc. But there's going to be a lot of storytelling on this podcast, a lot of education. It's important to know how the world of soccer works in order to understand the sport itself. I think it's um, you kind of want to funnel like this, if you will, whereas maybe baseball, you get a hang of the game and you understand the game, and then you kind of branch out to understand how is this game played throughout the world. Is it played throughout the world? Where is it good? But with soccer, it's important to know those things first before you come into the game. How does the Brazilian style of play differ from the Denmark style of play, differ from the Italy style of play to the Germany? They're different. They really are. It's not just, you don't we're not just saying that. Soccer experts don't just say that to make it sound interesting. They're genuinely different styles. Um, and that's just the tip of the iceberg on kind of the nuances of the sport. So Dylan and I are very excited to talk about this sport on a podcast form. It's a good opportunity for us to learn about the sport more ourselves, and also to just grow in our love for it by talking about it, having people on, and really diving into it head first more than we have already. So that's really all I have right now. I'm sure there's a lot more we'll go into in the first episode. This is kind of, I don't want to infringe too much upon what we're going to talk about in the first couple of episodes. Um, but I just wanted to get something down, get something recorded so I can, like I said, test all the technology. But maybe if anybody watches this or listens to it, maybe it'll help. Who knows? I don't know. If you have any questions, um, we're in the process of getting our social medias worked out, and we will let you guys know how to contact us with any questions here moving forward. But other than that, I appreciate the listen. I appreciate the willingness to hear what I have to say. I actually do another podcast. It's a very American podcast. It's about beer and baseball. It's called Post Game Beers. Um, and I'm actually the producer on that show. I'm not, behind a mic or in front of a camera. So, um, that was a role that I, very specifically decided and, consciously decided to take at the beginning because it lended well to our group dynamics. I'm able to critique the guys without it seeming like I'm just critiquing them so I can get more airtime or get more points across. It's an unbiased kind of critique each episode, but I really do want to talk on a podcast. I'm not going to lie. I told Dylan this, yes, I want to talk about soccer, all that, but also I've watched 15 or 16 episodes of my four buddies, talking college baseball. And it finally got to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm doing something. So this is what that something is. There's an audience out there. I know there is. There's, an American audience and an international audience. And hopefully we can create fans, not just through this World Cup, but also into the next World Cup in 2026, which is in North America, and then beyond, really, even. So, um, like I said, very excited. I'm going to stop repeating myself. Talk to you guys next time with the, I guess, first official episode, not the unofficially official episode, but the first official episode with me and Dylan. I don't know when it'll come out. We'll figure that out. Until then, though, y'all be safe and be good. Peace.